China dominates the global economy because it embraces what America fears most: real labor. While the West chases branding and financial bubbles, China built an entire empire on actual production. And now their rise exposes a fatal flaw in white capitalism's disdain for work. For centuries, white economic elites have structured society around avoiding labor while extracting it from others. Enslaved Africans built the global South's wealth, while European aristocrats and plantation owners positioned themselves as gentlemen, a tradition that frames manual labor as racially inferior. After slavery, Jim Crow and other exploitative labor laws kept Black and immigrant workers in underpaid production roles, while white capitalists rebranded themselves as managers, investors, and entrepreneurs. The Industrial Revolution amplified this divide. White industrialists like Carnegie and Rockefeller glorified themselves as self-made, while their fortunes rested on child labor, immigrant sweatshops, and violent union suppression. By the late 20th century, America began offshoring its labor to China, not just for cheap wages, but because whiteness had fully divorced itself from the stigma of manual labor. U.S. executives justified this by labeling manufactured jobs as low skill, a racially coded term, while pouring money into marketing, financing, and branding, industries that produce nothing tangible but generate massive profits through psychological manipulation. Meanwhile, China weaponizes America's labor aversion. They built the world's most efficient manufacturing base, not just by making goods, but by mastering supply chains, infrastructure, and real productivity. Now China controls 80% of global solar paneling, 70% of lithium refining, 50% of shipbuilding, while the U.S. economy relies on inflating stock value, branding hollow luxuries, and predatory gig work. Now, what is the result? China's GDP has grown 40 times since 1990. U.S. wages stagnate as labor is devalued and jobs are replaced with hustle culture. America's infrastructure crumbles while China builds high-speed railways, smart cities, and AI-driven factories. White capitalism's contempt for labor has left America with a failing economy, one where finance bros are richer than engineers, influencers out-earn factory workers, and branding is valued over building. China's dominance proves that real power comes from production, not propaganda. The U.S. can either confront its racist labor hierarchy or reinvest in real work, or watch as the next century belongs to those who aren't afraid to get their hands dirty. Historically speaking, white people have always been adverse to manual labor. They have always found some way to source out their labor, whether it be tilling the lands, farming their food, mining the mines, the railroads. Now, in the age of manufacturing, it's all of their products, right? And the Chinese have been able to take advantage of this aversion. They've built their whole economy around it, in fact. It's actually funny because it's like a two-step mental process, because in white people's justification that they aren't made for manual labor, they've created a whole economy around servicing where they don't have to do manual labor, and then convince the entire world that people who do manual labor are less valuable. By service providing, I mean all the computer, hello, how are you doing type shit, right? The email drafting and basically the corporate bourgeoisie world, right? And that's really just the slave versus the overseer mindset, right? Someone does all the work and then you have someone manage the workers. That's basically what white supremacy is. Racism has always just been their justification for not wanting to be laborers. And the job market, the corporate world, college educated, all of that is used to justify their aversion to labor. So here we are 159 years later, which is when slavery ended. We've established an entire economy around managing laborers. We source everything in America because of white people's aversion to labor, and then we slap logos on it, slap all this mental cognitive. Everything that white people have created is jumping mental loops to justify the fact that they do not labor at all. There's no difference in these products. They're all made in China, right? The only difference is they create this sense of branding and comfort around imaging and all of these things to get you to have the mental cognitive to buy the branding, because the products are all the same, because they're all made at the same factory. Everything about white supremacy is just jumping through mental loops to make you forget the fact that they do not make anything, that they are not laborers, that they refuse to do work, right? So that we will continue to spend money and work for them. The economy in America thrives off of all of this mental manipulation, because the truth of the matter is we do not make anything. We just manage everything. We manage our image. We manage the propaganda about who we are to the rest of the world, about what it is that white people actually do for jobs in America. It's all mental manipulation. We're a country of narcissists. Yikes.
Am I the only one who is sick and tired of being told to pick up my trash? And we have plenty of janitors who are paid to do it for us.
Here in China, every week, parents will have to clean up the classroom for the kids, and today is my turn.
This is Leo's classroom.
This is how the classroom looks like, and they have a huge TV here.
Leo is helping me to bring the broom.
Students study, eat, and sleep in their class every day. Even in primary school, everyone gets involved. Parents, kids, guardians, teachers, everyone will have to ensure that the classroom is clean. So that's it. The classroom is clean and it's ready for tomorrow.
Here's reality, okay? Port Arthur, Texas used to be one of the biggest ports. Shreveport, Louisiana used to be one of the biggest ports. Baton Rouge, Louisiana still is a big port, right? When it comes to anything else, okay, first of all, Shreveport and Port Arthur, Texas are shut down. Pittsburgh used to be used to be the steel capital. Not anymore. Southeast Texas used to be another steel capital. Not anymore. I think they got like one steel plant down there. Okay. Everybody talking about Longview. That's that's where the landmen are, right? You guys are gonna understand this. Okay, and I'm gonna make this very clear. Even though there are still oil refineries in these cities, that's all that's there. Before in these cities, there used to be grain. There used to be all kinds of things coming through there. You don't shut down a port. A port is more than just oil. A port is everything. Why isn't any of this other stuff coming in? Have you guys thought about that? Now, if you go to Houston, you'll see cars, you'll see all kinds of stuff thriving, right? But all of these places that are mid-sized places where people in people in areas outside the city live, which, whether you guys believe it or not, is a larger portion of the area than the inner city. Okay? All that's gone away. They've had to find lower paying jobs. Okay? What happened to all this? And I just named some places I understand and know. Okay? A lot of you say that steel is still made in America. That is a lie. They don't make any steel in the United States. They fabricate it in the United States. A lot of you say that we drill for oil in the United States. That's not true. We refine oil in the United States. Okay? I need you to add something in there. Do you guys understand what risk assessment, risk management, risk mitigation are? First of all, look up what they are. Then the other part of that is, what are they needed for? And what do they do? Well, all three tools are for innovations, regulations. There's no need for either of those if you're not doing it specific things anymore. Why is there no regulation in steel? Why is there no regulation in mining? Okay? But why is there regulation in China? Why is there regulation in India? Why is there regulation in Mexico? Because that's where they are doing it. Why there's regulation in Saudi Arabia? Because that's where they are drilling for oil. Why is there regulation in Nigeria? That's because they are. So here's the thing about it. In order to catch up innovatively to the world, fuck AI, you would have to automate plants in the couple of $1 billion they're investing, or 600 billion, 500 billion, is nowhere near. That's just numbers that impress you. That's just numbers that impress you. In order to replace those workers in that plant, the level of automation would be crazy. Some of you don't understand. There's no difference between automation and AI. When you work in a plant or you work in it, if you work in a fabrication plant, there's automation in there. Think about further automation. You work in a car plant, there's automation. It's all, AI has been around. It's just not been around to this point, and you hadn't placed brains in the entire plant. You haven't seen an entire plant run itself. So when you see people talk about America, you don't realize how much they have to catch up to compete with China and all these other countries, because you think America is the seat of innovation. And let me tell you something. First of all, the main point of the reason that America's failing is two things: greed, and Caucasians people need for other people to do the work that they don't want to do. Those are two reasons. There is no other reason. It ain't the devil. It's not any of that. Okay? They're always trying to get somebody else to do the work. They've done that throughout their history. We can't do all this work. Where do we get it? So, trillions of dollars to catch up with what everybody else is doing. We don't even feed ourselves. Let me ask y'all a question. When's the last time y'all saw somebody out there picking potatoes in the United States? You know what our farms do? Our farms supply feedstock for chemical plants. All those corn, nobody eats corn like that. It's feedstock. I say all this to let you guys know that this is over. Not just the United States. Whiteness is over. Let it die. It's you get along, motherfuckers, that keep stuff around that God trying to get rid of. You pray get rid of prejudice and racism, but you won't let it happen. You don't get it? After all these years, these people aren't going to change. Why would anything that worked for them change? Are you serious? Come on, man. You can talk to a white guy all day. He ain't going to admit anything. All he going to do is try to convince you of what his perspective. And all you know, I'm telling the truth. If you really get along with white people, all that means is you've submitted yourself or subjected yourself to what they want you to subject yourself to. If you don't, you haven't. Anyone knows that they deal with me, they're going to have a hard time trying to convince me of something. Anybody. That's Juan, you're difficult to deal with. No, I'm not. I'm not difficult to deal with for black people. I'm not difficult to deal with Indian people. They're always trying to convince you of something. Well, the last time I had somebody tell me, this white guy, big time white guy, he said, Juan, if you're not believing in the Bible, then you only dealing with your own thoughts in your head. I'm looking at him like, what? He said, the Bible is the only word of God. I said, man, go tell it to somebody that believe that shit. Go tell it to somebody that believe that. Now, I need y'all to look at how stupid that is. I need you to understand how stupid that is. I'm looking at other men's perspectives of God given to me. Now, there's nothing wrong with me reading their perspectives. But God exists for me too. But I'm just supposed to accept. And at the same time, you've torn my body, killed my people, write laws that subject us to bullshit. But I'm just supposed to. Do you know how stupid? I need you to listen. Even you who are stark Christians, I need you to listen to that. Our biggest confusion is that we're holding on to a book and a God that wasn't our God. And some of you are stupid enough to say, oh, we are different people. We just listen, no, we're not. Just because we speak English, we're not. Why do you think we move to a different rhythm? And musically? Why do you think we think different thoughts? Even when we try to make conclusions based on conclusions white people have come to, it don't make sense to us. But we keep believing it to get along. We're still in perpetual slavery because we keep holding on to the Bible. Let it go. There's a God without the Bible. There was before the Bible.